Anything we should be learning from the Chinese in terms of the steps, albeit tentative and early stage, that the government is taking to try to rein in, control, and even understand these technologies?
Well, China a few years ago announced as part of its China 2025 plan and in AI 2030 that it would try to dominate the following industries: AI, quantum, energy, synthetic bio, environmental matters, financial services. This is my entire world. This is everything that I've been working on. And I suspect for you as well. It's a great concern. And China has identified building platform strategies that are global. So the thing to learn is that we have a new competitor in the form of China who has a different system, a different set of values. They're not democratic. You can like them or not. I don't particularly care for them, but you get the point. They're coming. And you would not want TikTok, for example, to reflect Chinese censorship. You may not care where your kids are, and TikTok may know where your teenagers are, and that may not bother you, but you certainly don't want them to be affected by algorithms that are inspired by the Chinese and not by Western values. And by the way, this is why a partnership with Japan and South Korea is so incredibly important, because the values in South Korea and in Taiwan and in Japan are so very consistent with what we're doing. And so much of our world comes from those countries.
Do American social media companies, algorithms of those companies, do they in any way reflect American or Western values in your view?
They have not been so framed. And I think most people would argue that the polarization that we're seeing is a direct result from some of the social media algorithms. A good example is amplification. Today, social media will take something that some crackpot person has and amplify it 1,000 times or 10,000 times. That's the equivalent of giving the craziest people in the country the loudest loudspeakers. That just doesn't seem right to me. It's not the country that I grew up in. And I'm very much in favor of free speech. I just am not in favor of free speech for robots. I'm in favor of individual person speech.
So, I mean, what you seem to be saying, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm interested in how you think about this, is if the Chinese government is actively trying to ensure that the algorithms that its citizens are informed by, filtered into, do reflect Chinese values, socialist characteristics, if you will, that the Americans, the Europeans, the Japanese should actually be doing the same, and right now they're not?
No, that's too strong a claim. The Chinese government is clearly making sure that the internet reflects the priorities of the autocracy that is the CCP. There's no question when you look at their regulatory structure, they're regulating the internet to make sure that they remain in power and that the kind of difficult speech, which we typically enjoy in a politically free environment, is not capable. We're not saying that, and I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that it's time for us in the West to decide how we want the online experience to come.
The interesting change, of course, in technology compared to traditional geopolitics is that increasingly there are really only two dominant players. And, you know, the Chinese and the Americans are way ahead technologically from other countries. They're also spending multiples of what other countries are on AI research. If you're looking at a country like Japan, that, I mean, clearly needs to invest in China, needs a security umbrella from the United States, but isn't anywhere close to the technological capabilities of either countries, what do you say to them in terms of strategy going forward, holistic macro strategy for a government like Japan?
Japan should do what the United States has done so far, which is should organize an AI partnership. It should get all of the components of the Japanese society that are major players in AI. And remember, there are large companies using AI in Japan, and they need to build an AI strategy for the nation. That AI strategy will include a lot more resources in universities, a lot more people trained in those universities in the government, and an agreement that the AI systems that are going to get built in Japan are consistent with Japanese law, but also Japanese culture and values. That's the only path I know of to do. Japan will be a significant player because of the extraordinary technological capability of Japanese scientists and Japanese software. There's every reason to think that Japan, as well as South Korea, and to some degree India, can be very significant players in this because of the scale they have. This is a game where you need a lot of resources, and Japan has that.